Hi,
Hello.
Rebecca. Hi. Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another live video, an interview with some of our guests. You might be knowing Rebecca very much because she's on our channel for the second time, I think. So, welcome back, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Yes. So,
Thank you for
yeah,
having me.
yeah. In fact, we are, I would say it's like more than a blessing. That word, that's what I use here to say that at a time when the world is now focused on Rafah and what is going on there and the kind of propaganda behind that, it's time to burst some of the myths surrounding that. So I think we'll be able to do that now. So shall we get into that?
Yes. Let's go.
Okay, yeah. So before that, you might be wondering, you might have seen a flag on my thumbnail, Israeli flag. Then you might be seeing a few things in my background here. So a big thanks to the YouTube friend. She was from Israel. She was working there. So when she came back, she gifted me all these things. So very much thankful for that because this is the right time to show the solidarity by saying all these things. And it's not just by words, even with the symbols, I'm able to reproduce that. So why I stand with Israel? I should make it clear because there are certain kind of propaganda going on here in our country, especially. You are standing with Israel because you are inhuman. You are not. You are against humanity. That's one reason that they are saying. Then they are bringing up another reason, like you are an ex-Muslim, so you are a bigot. You are against Muslims. Palestinians are Muslims, so then that's the reason why you are against Palestinians and you are along with Israel. Then there are certain other reasons like that, but these are the two things: you are inhuman and you are against Muslims. To make it clear, at the first instance itself, this is not the reason. I have three major reasons that I would like to proclaim it here and I would like to reiterate here, which I am already doing in almost all my videos. It is three things. One is Israel currently is a pluralistic society, is a country which gives importance and which respects every citizen, including the almost 20% of its Arab Muslims who are living there. They are not just living there, they are part of the IDF, they are part of even the parliament. So that's how Muslims are living in Israel. And Israel is not against Muslims. Israel is not against Palestinians. Israel is against terrorism and any kind of arguments which says that Israel will be annihilated. Israel is against that. So since that is the case going on here, I am standing with Israel. And the second point is we are dealing with a country which respects its society, its citizens, and on the other hand, we are facing a group of terrorists which is fantasizing a kind of genocidal thoughts and which is being proclaimed over and over by a simple motto which they always say, that is revert to sea, Palestine will be free. When they say that, they are meaning Israel will be wiped out of this planet, which is genocidal. And I cannot vouch for that. I stand against that. That's the second reason. And above all, the third main reason is that if you go into the history and look at the peace processes that were initiated in the past, you will see that Israel stood with those peace processes always 100%, and it was the Arab countries and the Palestinians themselves who were against such peace processes, and they were not able to come up with a two-state solution. If that had happened in 1948, today you wouldn't have seen this Rafah, or you wouldn't have had to place your eyes on Rafah, which you are keeping for the last 2-3 days. So you could have given some rest to your eyes. So that's three simple reasons. And even by hearing this, if you are still trying to say that Israel is against Palestinians, that is a wrong notion. We are against, or I am against Hamas, the terrorist groups, and I am with the civilians of all the countries, including Israel and Palestine. And the biggest sufferings that is brought onto these Palestinians is from the Hamas itself, and it's not Israel. So these are the statements. Sorry for taking a little bit more of time from you. So now let's get into our business. So, first, a simple point to start with. What's your opinion on this Rafah incident? What has happened there? What is the reality behind that?
I mean,
What's your
to
point?
my
Yeah.
point, it's not going to be
Yes.
very politically correct.
It's
As
okay.
like they got the Hamas people and they hit an ammunition like that they didn't know of. Like they had like ammunition stores there. So to me, it's like jackpot. You hit Hamas people and ammunition stores. Amazing.
Okay.
Wins like a positive surprise. The fact that there were other citizens there that got hurt. I mean,
So that's confirmed now? The presence of that munition warehouse?
yeah.
That's confirmed.
I mean, I don't know. It's yeah. There was just a storage of like
Okay.
ammunition,
So,
something that exploding. Yeah. So
okay.
this is what created the fire. So I mean, I think I said it before. Like I don't think it's our responsibility to keep their citizens safe. Like nobody's coming to my house to store ammunition for the IDF army. I mean, that's what
So
does it say,
separating,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
you have to
separating
separate.
the war from the civilians, protecting the civilians is the prime goal of any war. So when Israel is doing that, Hamas is not doing that. Is that the point?
I mean, it depends on your ideology.
Okay.
But yeah, Hamas, of course, is not doing that. They make money from killing their own people.
Okay. So when you say this, being an Israeli, people obviously will say that you are politically incorrect, and that's the reason why you're saying this. But on an honest opinion or on a different plane, I'm asking you, generally, not just with this Palestine or Israel, how is or what is an ideal war? War itself is a bad idea, but still, when you say that you are supposed to do a war to fight some of the evils here, how could be that done in a most human manner?
I mean, let's start with what is a just war. But I think first, let me ask you, if they were, let's say, had a chance, like somebody would, hey, what would you rather be born as, a Jew or a Muslim? What would you say?
I would have said definitely a Muslim,
Yeah? Why?
because being a Muslim and knowing what a Muslim can do in this planet and the kind of privileges, especially with regards to non-Muslims, it's definitely a privilege. And I had never, I was always proud of being a Muslim, including the bigotry we were nurturing and we were carrying it forward proudly. So that's the kind
But
of,
it's true even if you were be born, but you know, you don't know where you're going to be born and what your family is going to be.
yeah, that's not
So
wrong.
if you're a Muslim in Pakistan, a Muslim in Afghanistan, a Muslim anywhere, you'd be right. And what if you don't know your gender?
Very difficult.
What would you want to be?
Definitely a male.
No, but you don't know your gender.
Okay.
The only thing that you can tell is like, you don't know where in the world, you don't know what kind of, like nothing. What
By
would you rather
knowing,
be?
by knowing what is a gender, I would select being a male is more, what do you say, more powerful. That's the word that I would use
Okay.
to live in this world.
But
Yeah.
but you don't know the gender. You just know if what your family, what religion you're gonna be
I'm
born to.
totally blank. I'm totally blank.
Yeah, it's
I'm,
interesting to me
yeah.
because I think you know like to me as a Jew, I feel like in one hand we're getting like persecuted, which is true, but the chances of being born to a good family and getting good education and having that strong base is higher. For
Okay.
example, especially if you don't know your gender, if you don't know a lot of other things.
Okay. I got your point.
Which, yeah. So this is what just words like those are, and like you said yourself, if you're a Muslim, you can do whatever you want to other people who are not Muslim. And if you're a male, that then you had no doubt there, right? Like you said already, okay, if I'm a Muslim, I must be a male, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to be the one that's powerful. if you're a Muslim, you have to be the one that has strength. So
Yes.
ideology-wise, Islam is built on power. If you are strong, you're the one that's ruling. Even if you're a female, let's say, if you're like born a female in Islam, and for some unknown reason you're extremely powerful and brutal, then you're gonna climb up the ranks as well. This is a power-based society where this person that is the strongest decides what's moral. They decide, like, they can do whatever they want. They want to have relations with the little boys, they can do it. They want to marry little girls, they can do it. They want to, there is nothing that stops them from doing whatever they want. So it's it's an ideology. If you are a powerful person, or somebody who thinks that they'd be the lucky ones to be born, to be on the powerful side, you have everything to gain because there are basically no rules on you. Judaism, yeah.
Yeah, please go on.
Judaism is not like that, right? You cannot do those things. You have those moral obligations, and the person who is the most, and there is no such thing as the most powerful person, because every person has something they are responsible for in society, and different people have different value and different merits, and we need, those who make money need to help those who protect us. Those who are the fighters will get support from those who make the money. Like the Jewish, like, it's a community that supports itself. Like you have responsibility to help the youngsters. You have the responsibility to do this and that, which makes it hard to be Jewish.
So one question here. So right away we are now discussing about two religions. One is Islam and one is Judaism. So when we talk about this problem, that is Israel-Hamas issue or Israel-Palestine issue,
but this is what we're saying. Everybody judges Israel by the Jewish standards and the Palestinians by Muslim standards. Meaning, because Hamas is the strongest, are the strongest in Gaza, they can do whatever they want. They can put ammunition where the kids are, the children are. They can do whatever they want because the standards that people are applying to them are those standards of Islam. If you are the strongest one, you can do whatever you want. Versus the Jews are like, we have to live by our own standards. We're like, we are protecting the weak, we're protecting them.
Okay, so you are more. So you are saying that you are more accountable to your own citizens, unlike what Hamas is doing
I'm saying
towards
that
their citizens.
It's like we have completely different jury systems, right? So if you come to a person and Judaism believes in equality in front of the law, that means that if I'm brought to sentence, it doesn't matter if I'm a Muslim or a Jew, I have to be judged the same way for doing the same thing. But the world doesn't work that way. If I'm a Jew and I do something versus if I'm a Muslim and if I do something, we get a different judgment.
Okay.
So this is what Hamas is playing with. They know that, right? So they, in their life, they by their own standards, they're not doing anything wrong. They can kill as much as they want. They can put civilians, because everything is like nothing is above the goal of getting the means to destroy Israel. There is nothing in the world that you can do that is worse than not pursuing the goal of the genociding the Jewish people.
So is it the same thing that you are with every other religion, including Christians? Do you allow them, or how do you take or see Christians?
Christians are Christians are, well, like, I don't want to get too much into it because there are a lot of them.
Okay.
But there are more. It depends.
Okay.
Like,
so it's
but it also depends on the people. Christianity means good, but it's like.
No, I'm asking about the people who believes in Christianity. So do you see them just like every other people that you were mentioning that equality before the law? So when you say that, does it include including even the Christians?
Oh yes, of course, everybody.
Of course. Okay. And the animosity against Christianity. We have seen a lot of videos and other things over the internet where hardcore Jewish people um, tussling with them and doing certain
It's
things with
it's
them.
it's called going against the law, doesn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
That
Of
doesn't
course.
make
It's a
you.
crime. Yeah.
It's a
It's a
crime.
crime.
Like just
Yeah.
because you're not supposed to, there is a law against something. Like humans are humans. It's not like we're born perfect. It's just that we have a certain moral
So,
system.
okay. So I just wanted to know. So you are despising such actions, like, right?
Of course.
Okay. So
It's not.
yeah.
It's it's once in a blue moon that it happens. I don't
Uh,
know. Like once, like this the people they get filmed all the time. So once a
okay.
year or something like that happens, it becomes viral. Like
Yeah.
it's not proportionate. It's not. It's like the chances that that would happen to you as a Christian walking around Israel are basically zero. Like you'd
Anyway,
be.
I'm slowly feeling like moving towards Judaism. Maybe in the future I may recite a Jewish kalima. Let's see. Anyway, my important point is that when we talk about this issue, people always say that two groups of people. One says that there's no role of religion in this. There's no such a thing which plays a part. Religion is not a part of this problem. And there's another group of people, including myself, who always say that the core problem behind this is religion, especially when anti-Semitism is inbuilt in every Muslim, especially those Muslims living in that area. That is your neighbors, like the Jordan, the Egypt, and other countries, So, what do you have to say to those people who say that religion is not a part of this problem?
Okay, so as a secular Jew, as like I saying, atheist Jew, right? Why would
Okay.
I want to even risk myself in this war if it wasn't for a reason, right? Like there is a talk now between us, especially among the secular, even more left-leaning Jews that are now more on the right. They're saying, it's not that we believe in God, it's that we checked all the options, right? We checked Islam, we checked Christianity, we checked atheism, we checked communism, and we looked at the moral values they all follow, and we came to the conclusion that what Judaism offers is the best moral solution that we currently have. So this is why we think it's worth fighting for it, because we don't want to live in a world where those values do not exist, when there is no freedom of thought, when there is no pluralism, when there is no, like, all those values that we believe in. Like
Okay.
this is what we're fighting for. Like why would else, because we have this kind of, like, why are you still here, why are you still fighting for it? Basically because, you know what, a world that has no, like, living in a society that has a different, doesn't have those values, we don't want to, don't want to live in that kind of world. So this is why we're fighting. it's
Okay.
not it's not that we didn't do our homework before we decided to risk ourselves like that. Like, why would we do that? Like, why wouldn't we go, like, pretend we're, I don't know, Spaniards or Italians or something, or Argentinians, and say, like, why stay, like, Jewish? Why fight for it? Like, we were persecuted for so long. And every generation is asking itself, like, is it really worth it? Like, you can convert and, like, finish, like, let it be, like, live a quiet life. And but then you know what the alternative is, and you're like, you know what, I
Okay.
guess I'll get persecuted.
Okay. Yeah, we have gone through the history part where the persecution faced by Jewish people is well known, and even when I live in India, we have such a big population who are living here, and still, I believe there are around 6,000 people living in India right now. So that's a huge number when compared to other Arab countries where Jews were in large numbers, like millions were living there before
Yeah.
1948. So that's a history part. So moving over that, we have a situation today Okay, that situation is a group of people calling for stand with Palestine, stand with Hamas, and other things. One group of people, and a counter argument where we say that stand with Israel, where I am standing now. So I have found my position to, or I decided on to stand with Israel by seeing all these things, which I told you in the beginning itself, and this was found out by myself. Nobody ever told me this is the reason, Arif. These are the reasons for which you should stand for Israel. So now I'm telling all this, but I just wanted to hear it from you. That is, if anyone wants to stand with Israel in this war to end this and to bring peace into that region, what are your reasons to call people onto your part? I'm saying for people to stand with Palestine, what they are asking for is civilians are dying, innocent women and children are dying. These are the reasons that they are citing, and their land is grabbed away. Settlements are more and more happening. These are the reasons, false reasons, which they are giving. I agree. So now, what are your reasons to call some people among our viewers or other people who might be there to stand with Israel in this war?
To be honest, what kind of world do you want to live in? That's the question I would ask. Like, what
Okay.
kind of world do you want to live in?
So you mean to say that
Because,
you are calling to a Jannah in the world itself,
what do you mean, Jannah?
heaven, a
Like,
paradise.
I mean, yeah,
Okay. So your paradise is in this world, and their paradise is outside this world in the hereafter.
yeah, and also only men get the paradise and women don't
Oh,
even get that.
oh, okay. So for you, when you provide that here, everyone gets that. It's a pluralistic heaven.
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't expect such a fast answer from you. So
Yeah, I mean, it's
can you
because
please
this is the
elaborate over
question
that?
here, right? Because this is what's
Yeah.
happening, right? Let's be honest, the people are getting killed everywhere and in much greater numbers, and land is being grabbed in way more, much, like larger land. Israel is tiny.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are getting evacuated, Christians are getting evacuated from now the Azeris evacuated Christians, and in Pakistan they are fleeing with their like Hindus and the Christians, and Afghan how many million? 2 million Afghans were kicked out of Pakistan.
Yeah.
People like this happen, like let's say Africa, and you don't even have to go too far, right? It happens everywhere around, like Syria here, like our neighbors. How many people got displaced? 10 million, more than 10 million people got
Mm.
their lands grabbed. So what is it here that you're so annoying you, right? Like it doesn't make sense that they don't care about what happened in Syria and they don't care when it happens anywhere else. So there must be some ideological fight going on. There must be something else, right? There must be something fundamentally different about this conflict specifically. And this is where I ask, you have to understand, like, what kind of world do you want to live in?
Okay. So you are trusting your rulers, especially Netanyahu, in that? Are you sure that Netanyahu is bringing you or building you a paradise of that kind?
It's not, that's the, okay, so you see, this is where we start. This is
Okay.
the one biggest difference between Islam and Judaism. Every person in Judaism is responsible to bring paradise, not just the leader. Is it, the question is am I working to make that
Okay.
happen? That's the right question. Am I doing
Okay.
what I need to do? Then I'm trying to, you can't, it's like personal responsibility. Every person has takes a part of that. We cannot build a Jannah, just the leaders. They cannot do anything there. What are they gonna plant the seeds on the ground, as well as like desalinate water, and then also do the science work to cure cancer at the same time? Like, what can they do? Who, like, they just like they just direct the different conflicts, and what they really do is like it's conflict resolution. Well, that's what they do. But the
So you,
people who are actually doing something is every person.
So yeah, so in the beginning you mentioned that you are a secular uh, atheist Jew, right? So being an atheist, how do you take these values from Judaism?
Easy. It's
I'm
not that hard.
wondering. Okay.
It's not that hard because Judaism doesn't believe in talking about about God, or it
Uh-huh.
doesn't like here are the things that are a crime. Trying to explain what God is, that's
Mm.
image, that's creating an image. Talking in the name of God, you cannot do that.
Oh, so
And
you cannot
like
proselytize.
no.
Okay.
So you
You
cannot talk
cannot.
in the name of God. You cannot claim that you have the divine power of any sort of thing. And like you can
Mm,
only you like nothing like that, right? But you
mm,
have to follow certain moral codes and
mm,
to try to understand them and
mm.
like argue. And this is why Jews are argumentative, right? Like they bring different.
Oh.
It's like even if you read the Bible, it's like okay, so the Bible says that, but what was the intention behind the command? Because sometimes the commands are like they fit for their time, but now we can do even better the initial command because we understand what was there and that it was actually like we call it like helping wheels, like but you have bicycles and you attach the helping wheels because people cannot like ride the bike like the bicycle right away. You need those things that would help you find your
Mm.
balance for kids.
Okay.
So this is the same. It's like okay,
Mm.
at some point you need to take them off. So this is how we read history. Um,
So being an atheist, being not believing in a creator God of any sort, still you are a person who takes the values from this religion, which you find useful in your religion or in your life, and you are
yeah,
taking it forward. And
yeah,
would you call yourself as a cultural Jew?
yeah, 100%. Like I'm also
Okay.
like traditional Jew. Like I do all the holidays. Like I
Okay.
follow the. But the people like that think like that view religion as like this faith and as if like it's not, it doesn't come like the reason it's not from divinity, right? It's because I
Okay.
believe that this is what would be the best for
Mm,
me, people around me, and humanity in general.
okay. So now, getting a little more serious about our topic from this, um, what's your take on the issues that is going on now? And when we cite the occurrence of October 7th as a beginning point of today's events, the series of events that happened today, or which is happening today, and when they say that October 7th never happened, or what happened on October 7th, no, where are the proofs to say that Hamas killed children, Hamas killed women, Hamas killed innocent? They are asking such things. So I hope you might have come across of such arguments. And in
I
that
have,
instance, okay. So
but you know
what's
what happened? Like those are
yeah?
those are
Could you
people with
please
the
elaborate on that?
well, I mean, you have to understand who is making those arguments.
Mm,
There's people who say that because they didn't do the research, all right? This is one
mm,
thing. Whereas like, okay. And then you know what? It's easy. You can find there are so many videos. Hamas really they broadcasted it to the world.
mm,
They filmed everything live. They were very proud of what they were doing. So not knowing that is either you never bothered checking for yourself. And if
mm,
you are that kind of person, I'd say before you continue the cycle, uh, check. Just it's like any rumor. Like if you hear it and you never did the double check, then don't pass it on. That's one thing that I'm gonna say. Like for those people, right, who denied.
mm.
Those who would still deny everything, they're just bad people. They're just bad people. Like let's face reality. You have to know who's standing before you. Some people are psychopaths, but some people are sadists. Some people do enjoy see people suffer. What if this kind of person talks to you? That's an option.
Okay. So what would have happened, or how this Gaza would be if October 7th was not happening, or it never occurred? What's your imagination over that?
I mean,
How was
if
Gaza? How was Gaza on October 6th?
well, for the Palestinians,
Yes.
every
And
person
both of
who
you. Both of
disagreed
you.
with Hamas would get tortured in the most brutal way that you can imagine. Like they would
By
bury
Hamas.
by Hamas, even their own
Palestinians
people,
getting
right?
persecuted by Hamas.
It depends how higher, like how important you are. The more important you are, the more torture you're gonna get. There is a story of, like, for example, of a Hamas commander that didn't do anything wrong, but it was in the agenda of several people to have him persecuted. They dug up a hole in the ground and stuck his body like that, and that just tortured him a little by little, like for several months, while his body was stuck inside the ground
Okay.
until he died. Those tunnels were built by slave labor mostly, people that were forced to
So
do
you mean
that.
to say that there are still slaves, that slavery system happening in Palestinian region?
Slave history is happening everywhere in the Muslim world. There
Okay.
are millions of slaves right now around the world. There are stories of people who escaped slavery that were kidnapped and sold or given as slaves to Arabs.
Okay. Israel is getting kidnapped and sold to Arabs as slaves.
No, it's that's mostly Africans or Palestinians or
Okay.
not Israelis.
Palestinians. Okay. So why
Palestinians
would?
inside,
Okay. Okay.
like,
Inside
depends.
Israel.
Yeah. And if you're a woman, and if you're, like, for example, you're married, happily married with someone, and let's say that your wife is pretty, but you're not a Hamas member, then your wife can be taken away from you and given to somebody who is Hamas member.
Even
Because
if even if she is a Muslim.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So they were doing this.
Of course, yes.
Okay. It's new to me.
Oh, you have no idea what their life is like, huh?
Okay. So
Kids that do not show happiness, like they practice brutality. Kids that show aversion towards killing because they practice on animals, who show that they are sensitive, they get brutally beaten by their teachers and principals.
Honestly, I'm asking you, do you know any Palestinian person, maybe a man or a woman, who could come and join with us in a discussion like this in the future, who knows all these things and we can openly discuss such things?
The
who is
problem
living
is that
safely in your country?
most of them speak only Hebrew or Arabic. They don't speak English. That's the problem. Like, there is a language barrier.
Oh, okay. But there
So
are people.
There are people, yeah.
Okay.
And
So
then there are, like, of course, women and honor killing and, like, the usual. You get caught walking around without supervision as a woman, you can get beaten to death, raped in every corner. The brutality, women are not allowed to participate in the education of their own children. So if a lot of times the mothers would just watch their children get beaten to death. And a lot of times they would do it themselves, but
okay.
just,
Okay. So in fact, when I asked what would have happened if October 7th was not there, or how the life of a normal Palestinian was there before October 7th or on October 6th, I think the life were even more bitter, as you mentioned here, like facing persecutions from their own people, from their own rulers like Hamas. And people also forget that Hamas was ruling the elected the government who represents Gaza on the October 7th. People always forget about that. So when October 7th happens, do you mean to say that it happened because to save Hamas themselves from getting elected out, or to prevent a mutiny inside from their own people, which
Yeah.
might have occurred against
Yeah.
them?
I mean,
Do you,
it's a completely corrupt system. If you don't deliver on the ideological front, then you have no right to exist, right?
okay.
You take away the pretty wives from random Gazan citizens, then, and you say that it's for a higher cause because you are the fighter that would bring the Zionists down and would bring the end of the days, as written in the Hadith, where you are obligated to kill every Jew that is on earth until they hide behind trees and stones. Then you have to, at some point deliver. Otherwise, like, what makes you have this right to take away people's wives and money? And like in Basel, like the upper echelon are billionaires. The second echelon is multimillionaires. The millionaires. It goes like that.
Okay.
It's a
So,
pyramid scheme. It's like I say. It's a pyramid scheme. These people would not stand on their own. If there was just Palestinians and nobody else on earth, humanity would go extinct in a minute or so.
okay. So, so now after this October 7th, as far I have understood, like there were some polls going on in that region where people, Palestinians, they have opined that, okay, their trust in Hamas has gone up. So more Palestinians now believe in Hamas, and they believe that Hamas is their protector.
Of
So,
course, for
yeah,
them, they're the most. They don't live for this life. They don't live for this earth. For them,
okay.
the most holy thing to do, and the reason they live, is to kill Jews,
So,
especially
okay. So,
Jews.
yeah. So, whichever statement that we try to make, the religion comes in between. So, I'm sorry for that, for the believers who might be listening here, because the whole issue centers around this religion itself. So,
If you
to
don't believe in that, why would you tolerate it? Because they really believe that they need to beat their kids to death. This is for their own good. Like, those kids get traumatized, but somehow they are supposed to believe that what their parents did to them was justified. So the brain, like, first of all, like, they have to be in a mess. Psychologically, they need to protect their own psychology by believing that the reason that they were treated so brutally was justified. And if you don't have this upper, like, religious cause where, like, this is for you, you have to learn how to be so brutal so that you would be able to execute other people, because this is what God wants you to do, then why did you suffer so much?
okay. So now, when we talk about this Rafah and other things, and do you have an idea where this war is leading the world? What would happen to the world and to Israel and Palestine? How do you think the end would be? Just an imagination I'm asking, like you're as a common person living in that country.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it's a question of, are we going back to the Stone Age, or are we going back? Are we fighting to preserve the moral and technological advancements that humanity has reached to?
Okay. And you are hopeful of which? The first option or the
I
second?
am. No, I believe that we will win, because
Okay.
anyway, I plan to not be here if we don't, because seriously, I don't want to live in a Stone Age. I'd rather not be like, I don't want to be a Muslim woman. I want to be a free person. I want to speak up my mind. I don't want to be politically correct. And if I have to be politically, if I lose this ability to speak up my mind, I might as well lose myself. Like, what's the difference?
So, how about the two-state solution that was there on the table before, since 1993 and all?
It was always a big lie.
Okay, so what's the future of that? Do you think that that will ever happen? And
No.
Okay.
I think it was never. It was at no point was it realistic. It was just to buy time, just both sides buying time, hoping that it's either
So,
that our
so
morals
you,
will win or their morals will win.
so you knew
Because if
that
you
when you,
stop believing, yeah,
so you knew, you mean to say that, do you mean to say that you knew that when you put forward a two-state solution, the other party, the Arabs, are not going to take that anyway? Was
yeah.
that okay?
It was a lie. It was just pretend so that the world would, at least the world would give us some quiet time. But
Okay.
of course, it was never. It was always a lie.
So what's your plan then? Like, I'm not asking or talking to Netanyahu directly, but I'm just, as a representative of that country, I'm asking you. When we have seen France coming up, Ireland coming up, and many other, Norway coming up, and proclaiming that, okay, they have accepted Palestine as a state. So when they say that, is
I mean,
okay,
that makes
or
sense. Ireland, you cannot. They passing laws against free speech. In Spain, you have a communist, the communists ruling the country. I mean, it all goes. It's all ideological. They all don't believe fundamentally. All those governments are against Judaism, not the Jews. Judaism. It's at this point. I don't think it's about the Jewish people anymore. I think it's the Judaism itself. It's the values of Judaism they're fighting against.
okay, but when Norway or when France says that, okay, they are recognizing Palestine as a state, how is that going against Judaism and Jewish state?
Because if a communist government, communism believes in the power of a state. Judaism believes in freedom and distributing power, and that
But
everybody are equal.
okay, but
Like
they are talking about two states, right? Israel is there and Palestine is also there. They
no,
are just
it's not. It's a vote against Israel existence. It's not a vote for Palestine because there is no Palestine. Nobody's controlling Palestine. It's like saying that, okay, Libya right now. Who is the government in Libya? Who are you gonna talk to? There is no government. There is no Palestinian government. There is no Palestine. They're not recognizing Palestine. They're trying to undermine the existence of Israel.
so. So you mean to say that when Norway or France says that, it's like they are also reiterating that "Revert to see Palestine will be free," that kind of slogan.
Spain said that.
Okay.
But Rio del Mar, I just made this video. I am actually editing right now. But the foreign minister of Spain said that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
I'm here. I'm here. I don't know. Something happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was mentioned by
She
the
said that.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They say
So
that. This is what they support. They don't want Israel to exist.
okay.
And
So
what is Israel? Countries are made up. They just don't believe in. They go against Judaism.
okay. So you are seeing that as a threat against Israel when these countries accept Palestine as a separate state.
I think first of all, it's a threat against their own governments because that means that against their own people. Because if they don't, if they go against what's their fight? They fight against Judaism, right? They don't want, because what is the original from the river to the sea that the Spanish person, like the Spanish foreign minister had quoted? The original is min mia Palestine Muslimia.
What does that
Or
mean?
from water
Muslimia.
to Muslim.
Uh-huh.
From water to water, Palestine will be Muslim.
Muslim.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
original. This
Okay.
is the Arabic
So
version.
they revised it and
To
included
be like politically
universal.
correct for the West.
Okay.
And believe me,
Okay.
the Arabs chant they know what they're saying. They chant the original one.
Okay. That's again a new thing to me. I'm learning more and more. So, so I would ask you to send me that wording if on our back channel or over on the Instagram where we used to talk. So
Yeah, I
I think
actually have a video that
video.
I saw. Min mia le mia Palestina Arabia. I wrote it like This is the original.
Okay. Okay. I
Arabia
saw
or
that.
Muslimia. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. I
there's
saw
two
that, but
versions, depends.
yeah, I didn't watch that video, so I'm not that familiar with that.
Talk about colonialism. The Arabs are the
Hmm.
colonialists, and they're
Okay.
they're gonna eradicate all the Copts in Egypt. They're eradicating all the Yazidis. They're eradicating all the Assyrians. The Jews are a kind of a problem. For some reason, the Jews fight back.
Okay. So now one more thing, just before we end our conversation here. That is, um, these people who are against Israel, they are making a statement. Okay, I'm just taking it out. It is like this: when you were facing this Holocaust and you were fleeing all around the world for looking for a safe place, and when you came to this Middle East, Palestinians gave land for you, and they gave a
This is
place
not how
for
it
you.
happened. No,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a lie.
I'm just
No,
taking out
Jews
their
have
own
been
words.
always living in Israel, and also
Just
like
before
the
that,
yeah.
just before that, because this you will have to elaborate, because that map will come to this place now, that lie on a map. So I'm
I
asking
know
you.
this map. Oh, you the ones that's like showing
Yes,
that Israel
yes,
going and going. So
yeah,
the
yeah,
you know what it is? It's
yeah.
privately owned land.
Okay, you
So
purchased it.
the parts in the beginning that are Jewish, this is privately owned land.
Okay.
And like the correct map to show is like what privately owned Muslims had land, right? Instead, they show like everything that is Jewish land owned is like they paint it in Jewish, and then the rest in like as if everything else. No, the rest, most of it wasn't owned by anyone. Like
Okay.
it's just you're gonna have the same percentage of privately owned by Arabs as it was privately owned by Jews. They just it's this it's how you lie with statistics. You take like this is privately owned by Jews, this is the Jewish percentage, and the rest is like, but no, the rest is like actually public land. Same percentage is owned by Arabs.
Public land. What is
Yeah,
that?
it's like
Public land means?
it's just nobody's.
Okay.
Nobody
So,
owns
but
it. There is no name on the taboo.
okay. So, what about this British mandate and how they were controlling that area during those days?
Yeah, that has nothing to do with it.
Okay. So, you mean
Like
to say that even though the British mandate was there, Jewish
no,
people were able to?
The Brits were allowing Arab
You to
immigration, but
purchase.
they didn't allow Jewish immigration to Israel. The
Okay,
Brits.
that's okay.
Like they
So,
made the Balfour Declaration and then they lied about it was a lie, because what really happened is that when they actually came is that the millions of Arabs were allowed to come and work, and the Jews were not allowed to come and settle and buy and purchase land in Israel.
Okay, so the first map who these people always mention about is a lie, just because the portions mentioned as Jewish land is privately owned one.
Yeah, and
It's
then
not,
the rest is just public land.
okay,
It's like nobody.
wasteland you can call.
Yes, it's just desert.
Okay, so then what happened after that?
What do you mean? It's like
Means the next map. When you come to the next map, I'm not displaying it here. If you
yeah, I
could
don't
recollect.
remember. Like it's
Okay.
basically more. I don't know, more I don't know what the next stage is. I guess like
Okay.
the next thing was like the partition plan or something,
Yeah,
and
partition
then
plan.
the Arabs
Yeah.
rejected it, and then
Yeah,
they
that is the
started a
partition
war.
plan.
But this is already like this is different because the lands were like the lands were partitioned. Like you take this public land and you decide, okay, this will go to the Arab state and this Jewish state, but it was nobody's. But then the Arabs rejected it, so it stayed in nobody's land, and then was a war, and the Israel conquered it. So by law, it's Israeli land.
Okay, so in that 1948 partition, and when Israel accepted it,
The
and
47 was partition, 48 was
yeah,
the war.
Yeah, 48 the war began. So
48, the war began in 47. 48, when Israel declared independence and the Brits left,
okay,
I think 5 Arab armies joined the war
okay.
against Israel. And just so you know how ridiculous it was on the ground, you should check out like the Jews, like they didn't have anything. Like it was girls, boys, teenagers, like sometimes it was one gun for 2 people
Oh,
fighting against like real armies, which is insane. And somehow we won, which really makes me think maybe our God is stronger. It's not that I believe that God exists, but you know, there is a story in the Bible that I didn't understand until recently. It's from Eliyahu Navi, Elijah, the prophet. He invites the worshippers of the Baal on a fight, and they both like sacrifice a lamb, and then they see like what lamb the God choose, right? The God chooses. And I always thought was like, but Judaism doesn't believe in these things. Like Judaism doesn't believe in this sacrifice things. Like why why did they do that? And then I was like, okay, so he had to prove that our God that doesn't even believe in this, like doesn't even believe in the sacrifice things, that not really,
okay,
is even with like even as an atheist playing, I'm gonna play their game. You know, even in those standards, we're still winning that kind of situation. Like I kind of understood, it's like I don't believe in God, but you know what? If I play this game, it seems like our God is stronger, anyways.
okay.
I can understand
So,
now this mentality now. It's like he had to prove that we are right in their game because they don't understand our game. They don't understand the game of morals or things like that. You know what? If you only understand strength, okay, we're stronger.
okay. So you have got enough of such instances where you experienced a God, right?
It's
Helping
not.
out.
It's just that for them, God is strength,
Mm,
right? For us, God is morals, but they don't understand morals. Morals is too complicated, right? And
okay.
with Elijah, it was like the Baal worshippers didn't understand like the non-sacrificial point of God, right? So they had to play the same game. So I'm gonna play. We're saying, okay, so let's play the same game. Even in your game, where to you the most important thing is strength, we're still winning. So
Okay.
maybe you should switch sides because our God is better, and then we'll teach you morals.
Okay. So now,
And I was like,
coming to, yeah, coming to a concluding aspect. Um, you might be facing, or you are facing, a lot of criticism, and you are facing a lot of backlashes around the world. But when it comes to your own country, you are facing criticism and backlash from your own people, mainly from Orthodox Jewish community. Those people who criticize Zionism, they name call Zionism as something bad, and they always criticize that. And
they're
also,
just communists with suits.
okay,
To
so they are
say that
not
they're Jewish is they're ethnically Jewish, but mentally they're somewhere else.
communist.
Yeah,
Communists
I
or
don't.
Vokes? How do you call them?
They're the same. Like we say, like you have the super secular Jews, and then
Okay.
you have the like they are the same distance from Jewish morals. Like you know, if you have the Jewish morals in the middle, they're the same distance away from them. So there's this like so for us we always like they're the same. To us, they're the same.
Okay.
Super
So
secular atheist Jews and the ultra Orthodox Jews, like to us, they're the same because they went away the same amount from the Jewish values.
means they are no more
But
cultural
they're
Jews.
still, but because Judaism is also a nationality and ethnicity, like in a family, then we don't throw away members even if they go crazy. Like if a Jew decides to be a communist, right? This is like you cannot like this means you replaced. When we say idolatry, like communism is idolatry in Judaism because you believe
Okay.
in morals that are wrong.
Okay.
So for us, this is idolatry, right? So, but that Jew that becomes a communist, we don't say that he doesn't belong to us anymore because, like, it's okay. So we have crazy people that don't follow like our moral system.
I-
What can we do? Like,
Yeah,
like throwing
in
them out.
fact, yeah, in fact, nobody ever calls out this part of communism. That is, they're indulging in this kind of commune. That's the word that they have, where they share the females within them, and it's like a kind of adultery that we would call. So nobody
Yeah,
ever calls out
but the
here.
ultra-Orthodox they are also adulterers. They're
Okay,
also
so
by like if we go by the same standards, we follow the
mhm.
same standards. They're also adulterers.
So
And the
is
Jew,
are you are you
the
just
and this
are you
and
uh,
mainstream Jews from all
mm,
aspects, from religious to atheists like me that believe in Jewish morals, would all say that. You can
okay?
hear it from all the spectrum, the whole
So
spectrum.
are you just alleging that way, or are you sure about that, or are they like that? Are they communists just because they are doing all these things in real?
Who? No, I'm saying that
This
they're
this
kind of like,
ultra Jews.
yeah. Yeah, they are a cult. They
Okay,
are adulterers, yes.
they're committing it.
What? I don't know if
Adult.
they're doing the same things their communists do. They have their own things that they make up. But yeah, but they do a lot of things. Like if you ask about sexual stuff, yes, it's common there. I wouldn't be
So
like they need to be broken down. Like they shouldn't,
okay.
like, to be honest, if you ask me, like
Mm.
those communities need to be broken down to like they're
So
not more like.
so you are also saying that that is against the Jewish values that you uphold.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
And a lot of they
and
don't know that. They don't study the Bible, for example.
okay, but they appear to be rabbis and so much religious looking people, most
Yeah,
of them.
well, you know who else did it? They
Hmm.
dressed up as a Jew so what people would listen to him.
Okay,
Muhammad. Does it mean he
okay,
was a Jew? No.
okay, okay.
No, like
So,
it's a costume. You
mm,
can wear a costume. I'm a Jew. See how devoted I am? No,
so
it's an
if,
empty
oh,
shell.
yeah, honestly, if I, after listening to you all this, if I say that you are a right winger, in though you are an atheist, though you are a cultural Jew, secular, you claim to be a secular Jew. I'm just making a statement. If one, have you ever been called as a right winger in your country? Are you a right winger?
I'm on the right, yeah. But
Okay,
I like
being right.
I'm on the right, yes, but what am I, if everything I said about Judaism, for example, that's also on the left. Like the left would give you the same, like would say the same, unless it's radical left.
Hmm. Okay,
So
radical
it's
left.
like it's no, because we have like communists, right? The
Mm,
communists
mm,
are like it's the same as asking the
I'm here.
ultra
I'm here.
Orthodox Jews that just pretend to be Jewish, you
Mm,
know. Like
okay.
ask those fringes, you're gonna get a different answer. I'm saying ask anything anyone in between, they're gonna say. When it comes to what I'm saying, they're gonna say the same thing. The
Mm,
differences are about the difference between right wing and left wing in Israel are not the same as it is in other countries.
mm-hmm.
The
Okay.
difference uh, is how do you fight, right?
Mm,
Uh, left tends to be more isolationist, trying to just
mm,
separate, and
mm.
right tends more towards we have to teach others our values.
Okay. So you are more onto this ethnicity, your values, your culture, and other things, upholding that
Mm, it's not ethnicity, it's about morals. So
morals.
okay, yeah, so the left in Israel, right, tradition is more like we keep it in the community. They're more isolationist. They're trying to
Okay.
separate. And then the right would be, it depends, right? It's
Mm,
mixed, but would tend more to go towards, hey, we have to make sure our neighbors have the same values, because if they're thieves and murderers, it doesn't
mm.
matter like how many, like what land we're living at or they are living. It's still gonna be the same thing. It's still the same problem.
Okay.
So you can say it like that, but it depends, like because every person is different. And also, like, the left and right is also, are you more socialist or are you more capitalist? Like in Israel, this is the main division as well. The between right and
Okay.
left is economic.
Okay. Even that is also that kind of division.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So this is the main division between the left and the right in Israel.
And
And it always has been. It's like,
yeah, is it going to affect this war and how people take their decisions, the governments, all these things? This kind of right-left divide, how do you think?
it is affecting.
Okay.
People go, except like people, there's somebody made this funny comment on Twitter. How come the more they persecute us, the more we get, the more Jewish we get? It's like the more we go back, like the more it's a trend that is happening. Like everybody is going back to reading the Bible, to revisiting Jewish morals. It's like, okay, we've dealt with this problem before, right? We had the Amaleks, and how did we
So,
deal with these people? Like those problems
so,
in Judaism, we believe in it's not linear, it's cyclical. So we
okay.
believe that we can always go back to, like, the history repeats, right? There is human right nature and it repeats. So we go back and we see, okay, it's like, it's funny because we say it like there are 100 years, like then the Jews did some the bad in the eyes of God, and then they had to repent and go back to the right path. And when Jews say that, it means like the policy they had taken were wrong. So we're like, okay, we were doing the wrong in the eyes of God because our policy making is not bringing us to where we want to be. So let's check our, thank God, very, very long history and see at what point in history did we ever manage to do something that's right, that actually managed to give bring us to the right, like to the right path.
Okay. So, being an atheist now, when you say a lot of good things about Judaism now, and you proclaim yourself proudly as a cultural Jew, is it the same reason that you are becoming slowly more Jewish than before? Due to the same reason that you just cited now? Reading more of this Bible?
No, it just to me, when you grow up, so this is what happened to a lot of us, right? And me especially. When you grow up Jewish, you take things for granted. You take some things for, it's obvious to you. Like to you, it's obvious that women should be working outside of the house. It's obvious, right? Things are obvious. It's obvious that you can argue with whoever you want. It's obvious that uh, there is no PC culture, like there's no political correctness. It's obvious that freedom is important. It's obvious that you have personal responsibility. And then now it's like you get this mirror, like an output of people, like they had this moment of realization where it's like, wait, what if it's not obvious? Because it looks like to other nations, what we think is obvious is not obvious. So it's like, why is it not obvious? Like, where in our lives were we brainwashed to think a certain way? Because, you grow up with the stories and you don't understand how it influences your way of viewing the world. And this is the breakdown that I had with, like, everything that I took for granted. It was before, because I was taught Jewish thinking and Jewish holidays and all from ever since I remember myself. To me, everything is obvious, right? And then suddenly, like when you see our neighbors, it's like, it blows up in your face. Why isn't it obvious to the people around the world that you shouldn't rape no matter what? Why is it not obvious? And then people were like, so this is what happened. The Jews were suddenly like, what if there is something different? What if what if there is something different about us? Because suddenly it's like, why is everybody looking at the world so differently from us?
So you have a point there, like especially this conflict and the world standing against you. Only you are there to defend yourself. Such a situation is brought out, and that's one time when you will be forced to be more Jewish than before. right? And that happens everywhere. It's not just about the Jews. I
Yeah,
become
I
more
think
of an
everybody
Indian.
does that.
Yes,
Exactly.
I become more of an Indian when India is in trouble. Or it happens even just not just with the country, even the state where you live. I live in a place called Kerala. So if Kerala is facing some problem, I become more of a Malayali or a Keralite when
Hmm.
situation warrants. And maybe the identity
It
could be a
it
religion, it could be
happens
a
in the
culture.
West too, right? It's like suddenly people asking themselves, "Wait, what made the West so successful?" Like people, like everywhere there, even in Spain, right? All those governments that are going against us are probably not gonna get reelected unless they manage to swap the population fast enough to get elected again. Because people are like, "Wait, you guys, like what we're seeing now in our streets." This is not the Spain I remember. This is not the Norway I remember. This is not what Sweden was like. So it's they go back and say, wait, why was Sweden better before? What kind of things happened that made Sweden Sweden? What kind of things happened that made us who we are? So a lot of Jews are like, okay, what made us Jews? What made us
Okay.
different? Why are 25% to this day, even now, 25% of science Nobel Prizes go to Jews? Why?
I Yeah, I think you missed one group of people. If Palestinians can group themselves and they can ask for whatever things that they want, I'm not I'm not in any way accusing them of any of the evil things. Still, if they can stand together and ask, or they call themselves as Palestinians, the same way you have the right. Forget about other countries. Forget about Spain or forget about Sweden, even India. You have the right. Everyone has the right. That's what I'm saying. But when you stand like that and when you do something, that should be accountable in a way that you are truthful to your own citizen. You are not causing harm for themselves, and to outside world.
Yourself. First thing
Yes.
is to yourself. You know what? When you grow up in those society, the first thing that they have been taught is to hate themselves,
Hmm.
right? This is those societies is like first you have to be truthful to yourself, love yourself.
Then at least you won't become a suicide bomber.
Exactly. Think about it. Like, what kind of mentality do you need to have to become a suicide
Okay,
bomber? Do
that's very
you have
clear.
to hate yourselves?
Yeah.
And this is what happens. They grow up hating themselves. 100%.
Okay. Anyway, final question. It is about anti-Semitism, which is now skyrocketing around the world, including in India, that I'm seeing. So people
You
are
have to be so
crazy with,
stupid.
yeah, crazy with that idea that even when I was growing up as a kid, I knew how much I was hating a Jew, even when I have not ever seen a Jew in my life. So it's very clear. To hate a Jew is something that is now a normal thing, especially after this issue which is going on now. And I, as far as I know, one group of people or one group of countries who have realized this and who have taken some sort of actions, maybe 1% or 2%, to correct this, would be the Arab countries themselves, where they had come forward to revise their textbooks that were taught to their children, which taught this anti-Semitic ideas in in their textbooks in the schools. So when the question is, when the world is promoting anti-Semitism, and at the same time when you see the Arab world fighting this anti-Semitism, which is ingrained in their people, and still the world is not ready to see that and move according to that kind of ideology, where the Arab world is trying to be a friend with Israel. Do you think that these actions which the West is now doing or taking up is going to help to solve this issue with Palestine?
No, I think that we should all take care of our own problems, believe me. Like, it's not your job or their job. Like, believe me, there are a lot of problems, like those countries. How about you take care of the populations in your country, like they really need your attention as well. So it's
Okay.
kind of like, it's kind of, this
So,
is like the number one thing, right? If you don't, like, if you focus so much on fixing others, but not yourself, what are you doing? Like, who do you care about?
okay. That's a kind of generic observation that we used to make. Okay, so when we talk particularly about this situation where anti-Semitism is a
Anti-Semitism is a phenomena. It's a sign that people are trying to, instead of fixing their problems, they are trying to ignore them. So what happens is that if every time that anti-Semitism rises, this is why I'm saying, like, be aware. People who are have enough breathing capabilities to listen to more than 1 minute, and have like enough. Take a moment. Every time that anti-Semitism became trendy again, what followed was complete destruction
okay.
and death of millions. Every time. And there is a reason for that.
So there is a precedent
Anti-Semitism,
event.
10 million of them. Every location, every time.
Except in India.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
But if it's gonna happen, it's gonna ruin India. So be aware of
I
that.
I would say in India that would never ever happen because the people here I know now. Before I didn't know, but now I know how the people here are, and that's one reason why I support Israel and why I stand against these kind of people who say that India will become a Hindu Rashtra or some kind of things, blah blah blah. I don't buy that simply because now I realize how these people are and
I
their core
agree.
principle, their
I
core
think there
principle
is a
that
reason Islam
yeah,
didn't take over India.
that's it. So, uh, having such an understanding, I cannot fool myself or I cannot betray myself with that kind of understanding. That's the problem. So, since I say that I'm called as a right winger and other things, and I don't care about that. So, that's why I'm saying or why I'm asking you this question again and again because, anti Semitism is a big problem and is going to create big problems. And there is a good part to that, even though it is causing a big trouble to the Jews, that is, it will expose the false claim of Islamophobia or the bigotry against Muslims because the the most number of people who might be promoting this anti-Semitism would be the Muslims themselves. They are the number one people who are doing that. So when the same people who promotes anti-Semitism in the morning and they cry Islamophobia in the evening, it will be easier for the people to understand there is an issue with these people. That's what I'm saying. Don't
The
you?
thing is not the understanding, because the
Okay,
majority
but it takes
everywhere
time.
understands. Because even like, the Eurovision showed it. They didn't show, but the percentages that the Israeli candidate got in every country were way higher because the majority, right, sees it. The problem is that the minority can take over a country. This is why those structures, like, don't be fooled, like every person that participates in that, they see, like, look at that, like you have let's say 10%, right? And then 90% are the majority that understand what's happening. But at the same time, those 10% are planning how to divide everything that the 90% have between themselves. So they will all become several times richer because they divide everything the other 90% have. And they take and so they do. So they go to work at things that people don't want to work at: bureaucracy, the army, the police. They join the government. They take over, and then you have this situation where you can get the 10% in the key positions to
Okay.
take everything from those 90%. It's not that
So
the
you
90% don't understand what's happening. They understand what's happening, but they don't take the personal responsibility that is needed to stop the 10%.
I'm just wondering when you say this and when my people here listen to this, most of them would mistake you for a Sangi because these are the same things the right wing here say. And when they say it, it's just by observing around the world. And when you say it, you are experiencing it on your own. So that's the difference. And I'm also saying this because I have seen this happening, and I had this feeling inside me when I was a Muslim. So I know this, how this is going to work. Our inbuilt software, how it functions, what our aims are, what we are looking for, how this anti-Semitism, I never ever thought of that as a crime or that as something bad that I'm doing, or hating Jew, or even calling the name kafir. It was never a problem for me. And I always used that word to name someone like that. And it was like, okay, it's okay. In our religion, it's like that. That's not my fault. This is the kind of reason that I would make. And now I understand, okay, this is something so, what do you say, a filth that is you can get from a beautiful religion, if you say that way. Anyway, you cannot call that as a beautiful religion. Anyway, if it contains such filth in it. So these are the things. Anyway, one final thing is when you ask again that if this October 7th is not happened on that day, are you expecting such a thing in the future?
Yeah.
Anytime, or once or twice or more?
Until they're until this ideology is completely crushed,
Which
until there is
ideology?
no choice.
Okay. Which
The
ideology?
ideology that is blame someone else. This is the basic thing, right? Are you gonna take responsibility for your actions and your life? Or are you gonna try to take something that someone else has? This is the the kind of person that you drop
So
them
you are
in
not
an island.
okay.
One would try to find how to drink, how to feed themselves. The other would just get angry, shout at the skies for hours until they perish. Let's say like something like that. This is the mentality.
Okay. So it's like one is trying to survive while the other is trying to always glorify their destruction and their peril, and they
No,
are
it's
just
a responsibility. It's a responsibility thing.
okay.
One is trying to, it's like, there is a given situation. Let's make the best out of it. The other is like, it's a given situation. Let's find who to blame or who to take from.
I think Jewish people never need a motivation speaker. Is that true? I feel like that. You
Yeah,
are born motivation speakers, or motivation. It's not speaking, but you are already motivated with your religion or whatever
because
ideas
this
that you
is
are having.
Judaism. To me, if people were smart, right? If people were like, instead of hating Jews, because Jews are not that much smarter than anyone else, I can tell you for sure. I mean, in fact, I think most Jews are very stupid, me included, but like in general.
Okay.
It's a 100%. There is something
Okay.
different about Judaism itself.
Okay, that was, though that was on a lighter note. You took it so serious, but
But it's true.
okay,
Because to me,
yeah,
I was like, you know what? Don't you think like it's time to ask why 25% of the Nobel Prize winners are Jews?
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like,
It's not
see,
because we're smarter.
yeah, see, when we speak about this, the current issue where this all eyes are now planted in Rafah, where people are speaking of persecution and other things. If persecution is counted, the most number of people who might have experienced such a the most worst kind of persecution would be the Jews themselves, and they have never in the history stood crying in the open, we are persecuted or we are the victims, or that kind of a cry.
If we do, the people will hear the cries and finish off the job.
Okay, so fearing that you didn't
There
cry.
is no mercy for Jews.
Okay, so that became a boon for you, right?
I mean, it's It's a chicken and egg situation.
Okay, got it. Anyway, you could survive, overcome that. You just came over everything. But when we come to this part, every opportunity which they got to bring about peace and to live peacefully, they still chose to be the victim and to cry the victim cry. So that's the difference which makes you and them different. And I respect your statement that you chose not to name that ideology when I asked which is causing this trouble. It could be anything, but the nature of that ideology will be the perpetual victimhood which it chooses over survival. And that's a good motivation for all of the people here. It can be applied for any individual or for a group of people or for any country. And that's something cool to learn from you. So anything more to add?
No, I'm good. And
I think you are tired today.
think no, I'm not tired. I'm hungry, but
Okay. Okay.
but it's fun. I feel like when it comes to India,
Uh,
I feel like I'm kind of curious now about the Hindu perspective and the Indian perspective, because there is something similar I can say about India as well, which I kind of want to learn, right? Like what made India, like in a way, like so like tolerant and pluralistic in what it is. So I'm curious about it.
Definitely. Anyway, that will be a very good starting point for you to understand such a big topic. Anyway, thank you so much for joining with us today. That was a lot of politically incorrect, even though it was nice to listen to that from you, because these
you
are the
should
zero.
listen, like conversations in Hebrew. If I think you think I'm not incorrect, if people
That's
like
fine.
would have translated things from Hebrew, like you have not like this would have, people would have be dropping like people talk like that freely. Yeah.
Okay, maybe even YouTube might ban this video in that case
I
for
think
being too much.
the best thing about speaking Hebrew is that YouTube doesn't know what you're talking about.
Even that's the blessing that I'm having for talking in Malayalam.
Yeah, there is a definite like.
Yeah. So on behalf of all our viewers, I'm extending a big thanks for you, and
Thank
I
you
hope
for having me.
peace will prevail in that area for both the civilians of Palestine and for the Israelis and those people. It's not good to listen to the deaths, whether it be on your side or the other side. So we want peace in that area, and I think right now Israel has the power and the ability to bring that area into that kind of a situation where the peace is establishing there. And I think you will be standing by that for whatever be. Sure. Yes. So thank you so much for joining with us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll meet again. Yeah.
For sure.
Yes. We'll meet again with another all eyes on India. Okay.
Yes.
Okay then. Bye. Peace out.
Bye.
ഓക്കെ സോ ചർച്ച ഇവിടെ നമ്മൾ അവസാനിപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ഇത് പറഞ്ഞത് നമ്മൾ ചില കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിക്കുക മാത്രമാണ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളൂ. കൺക്ലൂഷൻസൊക്കെ നിങ്ങളെടുക്കുക. കൺക്ലൂഷൻ ആയിട്ട് ഞാനൊന്നും പറയുന്നില്ല. കാരണം ഓരോ രാജ്യത്തെ ആളുകൾക്കും അവരുടേതായിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ, കാഴ്ചപ്പാടുകൾ, ഓരോ വിഷയത്തിലും അവർ ഗ്രൗണ്ട് സീറോയിൽ നിന്നിട്ട് കാണുകയും കേൾക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളുണ്ടാവും. കാരണം നമ്മളിവിടെ ഇരുന്നിട്ട് നമുക്ക് കേൾക്കാനും വായിക്കാനും ഒക്കെ കഴിയുന്നത് എന്താണ്, ഇവിടുത്തെ മുക്കാൽ മീഡിയയാണ്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഇവിടെയുള്ള വോക്ക് മീഡിയകളാണ്. നമ്മൾ നേരത്തെ കഴിഞ്ഞ ദിവസം ഒരു മാതൃഭൂമി പത്രത്തിൽ വന്ന് കനിയുടെ കുസൃതികൾ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന വീഡിയോയിൽ നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞു. അതിനകത്ത് എന്താ നമ്മൾ കണ്ടത്? അതിനകത്ത് 1967 വാർ അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് പറയുമ്പോൾ അവരവിടെ ഒളിപ്പിച്ചു വെക്കുകയാണ് അറബ്സ് അതിനകത്ത് ചെയ്ത ആ പോക്കരിത്തരം, അതല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിന് മുന്നേ നടന്ന വാറിൽ നടന്നിട്ടുള്ള പോക്കരിത്തരം. അത് അവർ പറയുന്നില്ല. അവർ പാലസ്തീനിയൻസിൻ്റെ കയ്യിൽ നിന്ന് സ്ഥലം അടിച്ചു മാറ്റിയിട്ട് ഇസ്രായേലാണ് അത് 67 പിടിച്ചെടുത്തിട്ട് അത് പാലസ്തീനികൾക്ക് കൊടുത്തത് എന്നുള്ളത് ഒളിപ്പിച്ചു വെക്കുന്ന പോലെയുള്ള ഒരുപാട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ ഇനിയും അറിയാനും പഠിക്കാനും ഉണ്ട്. അത് അറിഞ്ഞാലാണ് ഈ വിഷയത്തിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു സമാധാനത്തിന് വേണ്ടിയാണ് നിങ്ങൾ നിൽക്കുന്നത് എന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഇതിനകത്ത് ഒരു അക്കൗണ്ടബിലിറ്റി ഫാക്ടർ അത് ഉയർത്തിപ്പിടിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ഒരു മോറൽ ഇക്വലൻസ് എടുക്കുകയാണെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അതിനകത്ത് ഹമാസ് അതിൻ്റെ 7 അയലത്തേക്ക് വരില്ല എന്നും കൂടി നമ്മൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ നമുക്ക് സാധിക്കുകയുള്ളൂ. കാരണം അവിടെ ഇസ്രായേൽ എടുക്കുന്ന സ്റ്റാൻഡ്സ് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് വെൽ എബവ് ദ സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ്സ്. അത് നമുക്ക് പറയാതെ നിവൃത്തിയില്ല. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ടൊക്കെ തന്നെയാണ് വി ആർ സപ്പോർട്ടിങ് ഇസ്രായേൽ ഇൻ ദാറ്റ് വേ. അതിനകത്ത് കൂടുതൽ ചോദ്യം പറച്ചിലൊന്നും ഇല്ല എന്ന് തന്നെയാണ്. എന്നാൽ അവിടെ കൊല്ലപ്പെടുന്ന ആളുകൾ അത് ആര് തന്നെയായാലും അതിൻ്റെ കാരണങ്ങൾ കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമുക്കറിയാം. അത് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ ശ്രമിച്ചുകൊണ്ടാകണം നമ്മളതിനകത്ത് തീരുമാനങ്ങൾ എടുക്കേണ്ടത്. അതല്ലാതെ ഏതെങ്കിലും പത്രത്തിലൊരു സംഗതി കണ്ടു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് ഉടനെ ചാടി ഇറങ്ങിയിട്ട് ഓൾ ഐസ് ഓൺ റാഫ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് ഇറങ്ങി തിരിച്ചാൽ നിങ്ങൾ കണ്ണും നട്ട് അവിടെ ഇരിക്കേണ്ടതായിട്ട് വരും എന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് പറയാനുള്ളത്. ഇതിനോടകം തന്നെ പല തരം അതിൻ്റെ സത്യാവസ്ഥകൾ പുറത്തു വന്നു. മുന്നേ ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽ അറ്റാക്ക് നടന്നപ്പോഴും അതും ഇതേപോലെ ഒരു മിസ്ഫയർഡ് ഹമാസ് റോക്കറ്റ് ആയിരുന്നു, അവിടെ തന്നെ വീണ് പൊട്ടിയാണ് ആളുകൾ മരിച്ചെന്നുള്ള വാർത്ത വന്നിട്ട് ഇവിടെ ഒരാളെയും അറിയിക്കാൻ ഇവർ തയ്യാറായിട്ടില്ല. ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള വിഷയങ്ങളാണ് നമ്മൾ മുന്നിൽ നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. സോ വി ഹാവ് ടു ബി കെയർഫുൾ ഇതുപോലുള്ള വാർത്തകൾ നമ്മൾ മുന്നിലേക്ക് വരുമ്പോൾ എന്നത് ഒന്നും കൂടി ഒന്ന് ഓർമ്മിപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മളുടെ കൂടെ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്ത റബേക്കയ്ക്കും ഒരു നന്ദി അറിയിച്ചുകൊണ്ട്, അതുപോലെ ഇന്ന് നമ്മളുടെ ഈ പരിപാടി കളറാക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടുള്ള സാധനങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് എത്തിച്ചു തന്ന നമ്മുടെ സുഹൃത്തിന് ഒരു നന്ദിയും അറിയിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ഐ എം ജസ്റ്റ് സൈനിങ് ഓഫ് ഹിയർ. സോ താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച് ഫോർ ഓൾ ഓഫ് യു. അടുത്ത ദിവസം മറ്റ് ചില വാർത്തകൾ നമുക്ക് പറയാനുണ്ട്. ഇന്ന് ചെയ്യാമെന്നാണ് വിചാരിച്ചത്, പക്ഷേ ഇന്നിപ്പോൾ അശോകന് ക്ഷീണമായിട്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അടുത്ത ദിവസം നമുക്ക് കാണാം. അതുവരേക്കും എല്ലാവർക്കും നന്ദി, നമസ്കാരം, ഗുഡ് നൈറ്റ്. നമ്മളെ വീഡിയോ കണ്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ആളുകൾ ചാനൽ സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല എന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അത് ചെയ്ത് നമ്മളെ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുക. മറ്റു രീതിയിൽ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന ആളുകൾക്ക് അതിൻ്റെ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷനിലുണ്ട്. നിങ്ങളുടെ ഓരോ ലൈക്കും ഷെയറും അതുപോലെ കമൻ്റ് ഇടുന്നതും ഈ വീഡിയോ അതിൻ്റെ താഴെ വരുന്ന കമൻറ്റുകൾക്ക് നിങ്ങൾ പ്രതികരിക്കുന്നതെല്ലാം തന്നെ വീഡിയോയുടെ റീച്ച് കൂടുന്നതിന് വലിയ തോതിൽ ഉപകാരപ്പെടുന്ന സംഗതിയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ട് അതിൽ നിങ്ങൾ ഏർപ്പെടണം എന്നും കൂടി ഞാൻ അഭ്യർത്ഥിക്കുകയാണ്. മറ്റുള്ള രീതിയിലുള്ള സപ്പോർട്ട് തുടർന്നും നിങ്ങളുടെ ഭാഗത്തുനിന്നുണ്ടാവും എന്ന് പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കുന്നു.